Perek Ezu Neshech, Daf Samach Vav, sponsored the Refuah Shalema for Ayala Basrus. The Gemara discusses assurances that are binding and non-binding. Number one, although the halacha is achrayus to sofer, meaning a sale of land is guaranteed whether written in the contract or not. However, if the contract stipulates a sale is not guaranteed, there is no guarantee. Person purchased land with such a document. The seller, seeing that the buyer was distressed, assured him that he would compensate a seizure with his best land, including improvements. Amemar holds his assurances are not legally binding, only comforting. The seller offered this voluntarily. The buyer did not stipulate this as a condition of the sale. Number two, a buyer offers to return purchased property to the seller if he comes up with the cash. Since the seller did not stipulate this as a condition of the contract, but the buyer offered, it is as if he said, I will consider returning the field. This kind of assurance is not binding. Number three, a husband on his deathbed wrote a divorce document to his wife. Once he gave it to her, she would be divorced even if he recovered. He became sicker with that knowledge. Even if she says to him, if you recover, I am still your wife, she is free to marry. Her assurances are comforting but not binding because only the husband can bind her by way of a condition. In addition, we cannot assume that he gave her the divorce based on her assurance, since her words cannot influence the nature of the divorce. Number four, the Gemara brings a machlokas where the lender stipulates if the borrower does not pay the loan in 3 years, the land given as security for the loan will be mine. The first opinion is Rav Huna. Although he holds generally asmachta lo kanya, the borrower agreed at the time of the loan. The agreement is binding for the whole field, even the part worth more than the loan. After the loan, it is binding only as far as collecting the value of the loan from the field. Rav Nachman holds that if the borrower agrees, even after the loan, the lender can claim the whole field. However, he retracted this opinion. Even an agreement at the time of the loan is only an assurance he will pay the loan. However, if the borrower stated, May achshav, acquire from now, even Rav Nachman would agree the lender acquires immediately, subject to a cancellation of the sale if the borrower pays on time. Rav Nachman taught, B'zimnei kanya beloy zimnei lo kanya. Concerning a asmachta at its time, it is binding. Not at its time, it is not binding. Initially, it was thought to mean if the borrower meets the lender before the loan is due and says acquire the field, he acquires. However, if he says acquire after the loan is due, his commitment is not binding. He said it only because he was embarrassed for not paying on time. In fact, even if he said it before the loan was due, he did not mean it seriously. He did not want the lender to bother him on the due date. Other circumstances that make an asmachta binding, the land becomes the lender's. Number one, Rav Papa holds the borrower drinking in a bar, not running after the money he owes, or if he refuses to sell any of his land on the due date, is resigned to foreclosure. Number two, Ravina holds if he does not sell his merchandise at a reduced price, he is resigned to foreclosure. Rav Papa holds asmachta lo kanya, an assurance would not entitle the lender to the property if the borrower defaults after 3 years. However, if he stipulated that the property is an apoitiki, meaning the lender can only collect his loan from this property, it is binding. A seller of land with a warranty committed to compensate a seizure with top quality land, but not his best. His best was flooded, so the top quality became his best. He can compensate the buyer with medium quality land. Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua holds any agreement beginning with the word if is not binding if the penalty is excessive, even though the application of asmachta lo kanya fundamentally applies to land because it is not generally sold, but to other merchandise that is sold, such as wine, the agreement would be binding because it is similar to money. Therefore, Rav Huna teaches this is only if the penalty is not excessive.